You know, I have several friends in China, and one of them, when he came back from China, I said, I want to understand this suicide thing and the strike that is going on in China. What people in America don't understand is they will build their factories and their eating places and their apartments in the same building. So you live above your workspace and you eat and you shop and you do everything there. And people were starting to kill themselves. Some people went on strike, et cetera, which is a new idea over there. And they just raised everybody's wage from 50 cents to $1, and then they just moved to another province and build it there and start paying people 50 cents there. It is state controlled. It was the idea that the progressives loved at the turn of the century with Mussolini. They said, this is fabulous. You can move, you're nimble because the state will control it, but it'll still have some capitalism in it. Jim, everyone says that I've heard in, business on television and everybody else, state capitalism is the wave of the future. That's not America.
No. Come on, Glenn. The Chinese call themselves communists, but listen, they're more capitalist than anybody in the world. Massachusetts is more communist than China these days. California. Come on, what are you talking about? Washington, D.C.?
I'm just saying, that's what I'm hearing. I have heard, and it's the progressive movement, state capitalism. The model in China is the future, and you can't compete unless you have, honestly, I had a very big person in my office, and I almost threw him out of my office because he said, hey, the way to solve the oil thing, and he said, I advised the administration on it. Dead serious. We have to take control of the oil companies. And I said, get out of my office. Listen, it's crazy.
It's not going to work. You know that as well as I do. It's only entrepreneurship and capitalism that works. And the Chinese know it too.
But they'll say that it's working now.
Well, the state capitalism, the concept of state control still relies upon the fact that they're focusing on the greater good. You go back to Confucius and the whole principles, the good of the larger community still comes first there. That's cultural. So there's a lot that has to shift. We start from the bottom with the individual. I say bottom meaning the individual, the soul, and move out to the greater good. They start with the greater good and move down to the individual, and the individual that does for the greater good is still a cultural issue and still very difficult for them to break out of. Largely as a business culture.
You guys spend time there.
Glenn,
if I could, yes, go ahead, Jim.
Glenn, Deng Xiaoping, the one who started this 30 years ago in 1978 when he said, we got to try something new, communism has not worked, said, I don't care if you call it a black cat or a white cat, as long as it catches mice. And that's the approach in China now. Forget what they call themselves.
I understand that, but it's not really capitalism because the state still dictates. You can't make a certain level over a certain level. Right? And the state still says we're moving in this direction. They move all of the structure for people.
Wait, they're moving away from socialism, state capitalism, if you will. We're moving towards it.
Right.
You pick the way you want to go. Now, Glenn, it's important to know China will make mistakes. In the 19th century, we in America made some horrible mistakes. We had a civil war. We had very few human rights. We had massacres in the streets. We had 15 depressions with a D. You could buy and sell you can still buy and sell congressmen in America, but in those days they were cheap. We didn't have much.
We know who they are. We're just haggling over price now.
Right. So China will make mistakes like we did. We had a great 20th century, though, even after the mistakes. So don't worry. There'll be plenty of mistakes in China.
I know there will be. But the power that they wield and the amount of people, and I've got 20 seconds now. So may I ask you both if you could come back, because I want to pick it up there, maybe do another hour with you on the trouble that China has. Correct me if I'm wrong. I need just a yes or no answer from both of you. The Chinese officials are worried themselves about instability in their own country. They know how delicate this system is, and they know they're sitting on a powder keg, do they not?
Very delicate
position. So does Washington.
Very delicate position.
Yes, so does
Washington is sitting on a powder keg, too.
Back in just a moment. Tonight was the beginning of education on China, but it should lead you in the E4 solution to entrepreneurship. The only way for America to regain her place in the world is with entrepreneurship and innovation. Foster it in your own family. From New York, good night, America.